South Africa is a well-known tourism destination for its breathtaking scenery landscape and unique wildlife. According to the South African National Biodiversity Institute, it is the third most biologically diverse country in the world. These natural assets are essential for wildlife tourism development. In other terms, the observation and interaction with local animal and plant life in their natural habitats. Thus, the need to preserve biodiversity and animal welfare is essential in order to maintain tourism as a tool of sustainable development. By considering the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, we may be able to identify two goals that can be related to animals. Thus, we can ask ourselves in what extent animal tourism is a tool in favor of sustainable development. In the last decades, collective consciousness have realized that animals should remain in their natural habitats. In fact, the growing interest in sustainable tourism and ecotourism justify itself as a reflection of social concern towards the effect of tourism in the quality of the natural environment. This collective realization is leading to more sustainable initiatives to preserve natural resources and biodiversity. Regarding the marine life tourism, aquariums were once considered as the unique touristic attraction to observe marine animals, in most cases with questionable animal welfare conditions. Fortunately, global initiatives are changing the game towards making tourism an asset for not only economic purposes, but also for sustainable development benefits. In order to illustrate that, we can highlight the World Heritage Site of Algoa Bay, which makes South Africa the only country in the world with two accredited sites. This global accreditation spotlights the country as an ecotourism destination and enables tourists to select a more responsible tourism. Accordingly, private initiatives as, for example, the marine ecotourism operator Ruggie Charters avail itself of this accreditation as a means to promote its tourist attraction in Algoa Bay. Its offer can be defined as ocean safaris and shark cage diving experiences as a means to observe marine animals in the South African coast. Besides showcasing a viable, sustainable alternative to cruel attractions like captive dolphin venues and other wildlife entertainment activities, the company promotes an ecotourism economic activity. Indeed, this initiative plays a key role in terms of marine life protection by being part of several conservation projects in Africa. The Baywatch project, for instance, aims to educate the community, assist in marine law enforcement and marine research, and undertake its own independent research. Thus, this company represents community's commitment to respect, celebrate, and conserve marine life, more specifically whales, bottlenose dolphin, penguins, and great white sharks. In order to experience animal tourism on land, South Africa possesses the largest zoo on the continent. In fact, the National Zoological Garden of South Africa, also known as Pretoria Zoo, is located in the Mokopane Biodiversity Conservation Centre as a part of the South African National Biodiversity Institute. This semi-government institution is involved in the protection and the understanding of African biodiversity. Thus, it respects animal welfare and conservation, which contributes to the sustainable development of the country. Furthermore, South Africa is known as being one of the greatest spots to experience wildlife tourism. In other terms, the world-renowned African safaris, where the Big Five, which refers to lion, leopard, rhino, elephant, and buffalo, can be perceived. Safaris are indeed part of the African tourism identity, and according to the UNTO, wildlife tourism represents 80% of total annual trip sales to Africa. This also shows the strong market that wildlife tourism represents. Besides the high demand of this nature-based tourism, the World Bank Sustainable Tourism Development highlight the fact that this tourism does generate funds for the wildlife conservation, as well as increasing the value placed on its wildlife and nature. In order to experience safaris, South Africa possesses a large amount of game reserve and wildlife sanctuary. As an example, the world-leading luxury travel operator Wilderness uses its hospitality tourism to have a positive impact on wildlife conservation. In fact, they promote ecotourism as well as sustainability all over sub-Saharan African region by providing tourists insight knowledge about conservation while working with local communities to promote economic growth and inclusion. In other words, the purpose of wilderness companies is to educate on sustainable conservation, empower through employment, and protect human-wildlife coexistence in Africa. Besides, they want to assure that the world will always have a version of its iconic wild places that is unfenced, untamed, and unpredictable. This example portrays quite well the influence of the private sector in the conservation and the development of tourism in a specific tourism destination. Last but not least, it highlights a collective effort to preserve Earth's natural resources that are essential for human existence. Lastly, South Africa is portraying well tourism as a tool for sustainable development when focusing on animals. Indeed, by putting forward animal welfare and ecotourism and uses wisely its natural destination assets in order to create inclusive employment, generate tourism revenue while protecting and preserving the natural environment, and by being involved in biodiversity conservation. However, in order to achieve a long-lasting sustainable development, the tourism industry in South Africa must obtain full support of tourism destination stakeholders, but also focus further on the harmony between animal and humans' coexistence by alleviate local threats, which is in fact essential for a well-functioning ecosystem and thus our own existence as human beings. In other words, what is man without a beast? If all the beasts were gone, man would die from a great loneliness of spirit. For whatever happens to the beast soon happens to men. All things are connected. Shivsiat.